If the world would just, if everyone else would just get their noses out of their business, these two would be drinking a beer right now if no one else was involved. I think it is safe to consider that this is the only thing that really happened at the Oscars. Well, Drew, there were some awards given. Yeah. But no, like much of the world stopped caring. I feel like we went there together. Most of the world and I took this journey together. We just stopped caring. Wow, these people are rich and they get very dressed up. They're beautiful people and they show up to an event and they reward themselves. Maybe it changed because I have a family and I'm raising 2 boys. And so when I sit down in front of a movie, wow, are our selections slim? You know, when it comes to, especially now that they're getting a little older, we're getting out of the animation. Even in the animation zone, like our selections are slim. So the Oscars have just more and more, like, who cares? So yeah, this is like the only thing that really happened at the Oscars. So there's been a lot of discussion, and when I say discussion, I don't mean so much discussion as just personalities and different talking heads online have opined and felt like they've really needed to weigh in on this topic. So now it's my turn, and you might be thinking, what gives you the authority? Well, I want to focus on just the apology. I want to focus on the apology, but not just the apology. We got to give context, right? Context. Everyone leaves context out. We live in a world that loves to leave out lots of context. Why? Because we can't support our own narratives. We can't support our own missions and visions, right? Our own agendas with leaving in all the context. So what do? As flawed human beings, we have to leave out a lot of context. I want to bring that context back into the situation. What also gives me the right? Drew, what gives you the right? Well, a couple years ago, I launched a video called How to Apologize. The video I published years ago, it covers apologies. It covers how to pull off an apology like you mean it, because, well, there's no escaping it. It's either you mean it or you don't. That's the thing about apologies. Because human beings have never changed. The ball of emotions that they are and everything that makes up the human being, the psyche, the wants and desires and need. When we talk about, when we opine, when we weigh in on, that apology, was it done right? What could have been done better? Does someone deserve it? That never changes. So why don't I go ahead and start with 2 things? Why don't I start with the apology? And in case you're one of the few people on the planet that have not seen the clip, I'll go ahead and show you. So here's the apology. Let's work backwards a little bit. Most people wouldn't even do this. But Will Smith, kudos to him. He says, violence in all forms is poisonous and destructive. That makes me think. I mean, when someone lays a claim out like this is a claim. This is an assertion. And I want to go, is it? Is violence in all forms? What is the context? What would be context where violence is not just accepted but warranted and would be welcomed, right? Give me about 2 minutes and I can think of at least half a dozen where there would be abusive situations where there is someone, there's an oppressor and there's the oppressed, and there, between these two parties, I can think of, where violence might be welcome. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are a part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. Now, critics will come in and say, oh yeah, sure thing, Mr. Smith, because you were all smiles. Like, put yourself in his shoes. Okay, jokes are like in the moment. You have an initial reaction, and sometimes it takes a little moment to go, what just happened? What was just said? And then some people are discussing, some critics are talking about, it was all smiles until they caught Jada's reaction right here. Okay, so yeah, you see like, it's basically like an eye roll. So you see this reaction, now he's smiling, so people naysaying and saying, oh yeah, sure, until you got your honey's negative reaction to it, and then you decide to step up. Well, whatever. It's just in the moment. I mean, I can't even pretend to put myself in his shoes, where everyone's just looking glamorous and you're on the world stage and you still got to represent. Moments happen so quickly. That's the problem with moments. They just happen so quickly, and hindsight is 20/20. That's the reason why that saying exists. Hindsight is 20/20, because moments happen in the moment and you don't always think as fast as you would like to. You, me, everybody. I tell my kid, both kids all the time, like, know your role. What role are you? Well, you're an actor. You are a role model on this stage. I hate to admit it, that celebrities are role models, but whatever. Like, it's the world we live in. And he gets it. He gets it in this apology because he actually apologizes to the Williams family. He gets it that his role is he is an influencer because he has played a part. He has pretended to be this other person, a real life figure in the movie, in this King Richard, which I have not seen, but that's what he won his Oscar for. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. So finally, he calls out Chris. I say finally because this just came, I think, a day later. You know, big deal. It came a day later. Some people want to criticize Will Smith for this coming so late. Why didn't he think when he had his Oscar in his hand? Why didn't he apologize then? I don't know. Actually, then was the apology that most celebrities are known for. They're known for apologizing, either being so vague, wishy-washy blanket statements that are far from clear, or they're infamous for throwing someone else under the bus. Well, I'm really sorry that you were so offended and you suck. You know, they're infamous for doing that, but he didn't do that. Back in 2015 with my previous video, I said number 1, 2, and 3. Number 1, complete ownership of a folly exudes integrity, character, and trust. And when you see a grown man that's mature and has moved out of his parents' basement, when you see that man show regret, like, hey, right here, I was out of line, I was wrong. I can't remember the last time I heard a celebrity say such a thing. I was wrong. Is it like a school that when you go into Hollywood, like you have some night classes that you have some initiation where you must learn how to never admit your folly or something like that? That's how it's felt. Or if you're in the NBA or the NFL, if you're a professional athlete, like you can never do this. But no, like, grow up, men. Okay, so that's what he did, and he did it beautifully. I want to call attention to that. And then I'll review this because I put it in the previous video too. It's worth reviewing. Taking complete ownership of your outcomes by holding no one else but yourself responsible for them is the most powerful thing you can do to drive your own success. You know what? If I'm not where I am, it's on me. If I slapped you with a pretty nice slap, if you're going to show your woman, hey baby, I respect you. If you're going to show her that, it was a manly slap. It was when you see this right here, it was a wicked, well delivered, well landed, manly slap. I was out of line and I was wrong. Bam! He took responsibility. That's really mature. All right. I am embarrassed, and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness. This gets a little frou-frou for me. Like, it's not a world of love and kindness. It's not. It's never been. It's a fallen world. For the first time publicly, at least he did this in Instagram. So as I promised, I said apology first, and then we're going to watch the clip. Let me just take a few seconds right now and say I'm not a fanboy of either one of these guys. I highly respect Will Smith. After this, I respect Chris Rock even more. Chris Rock was a part of SNL when I was growing up, in a time when my friend group, my peers, we were watching a lot of SNL. That show was developing our sense of humor. That's one of the underrated things about that show. And then talking about Will Smith, I always hated it when critics would slam on Will Smith saying he's not gangsta enough, you know? It's like he's not black enough or something like that. Like, he made a show called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and that was I would say you know what? It wasn't his big break because DJ Jazzy Jeff and The Fresh Prince. I mean, those were cassette tapes that I owned, and we loved them. We wore them out. I had 2. And he went under fire for not being hard enough, you know, whatever that meant. He's uber talented, funny, an entertainer to the core. Like, I respected that he went his own way and he didn't fall like, oh, okay, yeah, great, I need to change my image. I feel like so many people don't have a spine, or they're beholden to whatever conglomerate, Disney, whatever corporate conglomerate that owns them, and that was never Will Smith, or at least not in the early days. I don't know about now. I don't align with his views on marriage. I don't align with his views on his faith. My point is, I respect both of these guys. I'm not a fanboy, but I respect both of them. Let's go ahead and play this.
She loses.
So these are 2 people. I have no idea who they are. This husband and wife, apparently. You know, he's saying that they're both nominated, and it's really funny. He's saying he can't win, right? He's gonna go home. like if. So he's praying that Will Smith wins. It's a beautiful segue. He goes into Will Smith. He's just making light of things.
Jada, I love.
And then he goes to this.
G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
and you can hear like it gets some laughs. Here's the difference. I'll share what I learned one time in I forgot who was saying it, but someone was talking about the difference between comedy and humor, or maybe those weren't the two words. Whatever. It was the difference between like what comedians do when they're heckling people and they're calling out people and they might go too far. I don't know if that's what happened here. I have the feeling, there's no way of ever knowing this, but I have the feeling that Chris Rock kind of knew what he knew when he made that statement, that he's like, oh boy, here we, shoot, shouldn't have gone there, but I did. And it was too late. The genie was out of the bottle. But that's the subtle difference here, is that instead of making fun at himself, or instead of making fun of the previous joke, because it was like making fun, but it was a way to pump up someone. Like, hey, these two people are in the category for best actor. It's a tactic of charisma when you learn how to do this. And he was being very charismatic and getting all kinds of likability points in the room because it was just being funny. And it wasn't at the expense of others. It was at the expense of building others up until this moment. And I'm going to say he just didn't have the context, or he just wouldn't have touched it, but he did. And then he knows right here. He's like, oh,
That was a nice one.
I didn't even catch the word he said there.
I'm out here. Richard.
He doesn't know what's coming. He's laughing. This is maybe a nervous laugh. The crowd's going, they're getting rowdy. And then, wabam. Okay.
Wow.
Now check it out. Here's why I respect Chris Rock more. He took that slap. That was a serious slap. There's so many things to talk about here. Okay. Many ladies today, here, let me bring over this screenshot. I was watching something else. Who said this? Whoever this is.
Comedian Tiffany Haddish told
Okay, Tiffany Haddish. Now, too bad that Tiffany Haddish has to bring in skin color. When I saw a black man stand up for his wife, it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Okay, you know what, Tiffany? I'm with you, but like, we live in a day and age where it would be nice to see a lot of men like just stand up in general for something. Do you remember the war on manhood? Like this right here, you have people like Tiffany Haddish. Come here, let me go ahead and keep her on the screen here a little bit. You have people like her that are coming to Smith's defense, if you call it that. But she's pleased. She's saying, hey, when I saw someone, stand up for his wife, it was beautiful. Women want this. Women want a man. It's I get so stuck on, it's hard for me to even put into words because it's like there's this cultural war on masculinity. So much so that we've taken the term that it has nothing to do with masculinity, toxic, and we've put it in front of that word to give it a totally different meaning. That's the world we live in. So it's not that he's a black man, it's just that he's a man. Like, awesome. So I have much respect for Will Smith, even more so if that was truly, and I'm going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt here. If that was truly like he's in the moment, he smiles, he sees that, wow, you know what, alopecia is a serious deal. We might have really struggled through the last few years, and he didn't appreciate the joke. Okay, and then he wanted to come up and do something. There was also one of my friends, I don't know where the source is, a good friend was saying Will Smith had regrets about growing up in a household where there was abuse and he didn't stand up to it. Oh, interesting. Let me go back to this Instagram thing. Violence in all its forms is poisonous and destructive. What if that abuse situation, what if Will Smith had stood up for that? Don't write in the comments. I'm not knocking him for it. I'm just saying this is a part of his past life that we don't get to see here in the few seconds taken on the world stage here. But that's a remorse. That's a regret that Will Smith has in life. We don't know that, right? He might be like, oh, I'm living it out now. Well, bam, and he goes up and slaps him. Now,